Well, hello. Welcome to Jimmy's Records and Tapes. I'm Jimmy Pardo. We're talking about 1991 this week.
We've got it on vinyl, CD and cassette.
We've got pop, rock, heavy metal, punk, funk, rap, and new wave. All sales are final, but you never regret all the music you get at Jimmy's Records and Tapes.
I'm loving music again. Hello there. Welcome to Jimmy's Records and Tapes. I am the Jimmy in Jimmy's Records and Tapes. I own the place. Take a look around. Spend some time. Today we're talking about 1991. Let's talk about what was happening in the world in 1991. Well, Operation Desert Storm started and 30 days later ended. 70 tornadoes devastated the Midwest. The Chicago Bulls started their run of their first threepeat. They did a second threepeat when Michael Jordan came back from trying baseball. He had gambling issues. Paul Reubens was arrested in an adult movie theater for doing, I think, what you're supposed to be doing in an adult movie theater. But somehow, we didn't like the idea of that, and it made news. And Bonnie Raitt gave us something to talk about when she married actor Michael O'Keefe. What does your money get you in 1991? Well, gas cost you $1.12. A house is $120,000, and you want to send a letter? 29 cents. That's all it's going to take. But I'm sure even at the time, people were whining about, it used to just be a quarter. It's magic. You put something in an envelope in Portland, and it gets to Florida for less than 50 cents. Shut your mouth and lick the envelope. Top TV shows. 60 Minutes, Roseanne, Murphy Brown, Controversial. Movies, Cape Fear, City Slickers, and La Bamba. Nope, that says Silence of the Lambs. The thing is, movies were popular, and people liked to watch them. Let's talk about what was happening musically in 1991. The best-selling song was Everything I Do It For You by Bryan Adams. Now, look, I love Bryan Adams. I mean that sincerely. I do not like this song. In fact, I would say it's my least favorite Bryan Adams song, but luckily, he recorded one that I hated more, Have You Ever Really Loved a Woman, from the movie Don Juan DeMarco, which is unlistenable and unwatchable. Not as unwatchable as that Prince of Thieves Robin Hood thing. Why did he attach himself to clunker movies is my point. He was a rock star, man. Cuts like a knife. Best-selling album of the year was Mariah Carey's self-titled album, the Grammy Awards. Best new artist was Marc Cohn. You remember him? He was walking in Memphis. He's got his feet 10 feet off a Beale. And then he got shot in the head. He lived, right? We're able to laugh about it. And the Grammy for the album of the year goes to, because the Grammys really knew what the young people wanted, Natalie Cole's Unforgettable with Love, where she did that duet with her father, which is actually very beautiful, but come on. The album that we're going to be talking about here today is a great power pop album by a band out of the Chicagoland area, Material Issue, International Pop Overthrow. It is produced by Jeff Murphey, who was in another Chicago band called The Shoes that never really had national acclaim, but they were fantastic. I saw them many times back in the day locally. Material Issue, man, it hits Jimmy Pardo right where he wants it to. The jangly guitar. There's not a song, there's only one song on this album that's longer than 4 minutes. Everything else is right around the 2.5 to 3 minute mark. It went to the charts, number 86 on the Billboard chart. Let me tell you about who was in the band of Material Issue. You had Ted Ansani on bass, you had Mike Zelenko on drums, and you had Jim Ellison on vocals and guitar, and he also wrote all of the songs. Sadly, he passed away since then, and Material Issue has reunited with a guy named Phil Angotti, who I used to go see live quite a bit because he was in a band with my buddy Daver, who does the theme song for my award-winning podcast, Never Not Funny. So good to see Phil out and performing these great songs. Again, very much in the vein of the Knack. Power pop song, short, poppy, about girls. In fact, the first 3 songs on this album, you got Valerie Loves Me. Valerie Loves Me! Dink-a-dink. God damn it, it's a great song. Diane, and then Renee Remains the Same. These are just amazingly great pop songs. And in fact, there is a music festival here in Los Angeles called the International Pop Overthrow that is named in honor of this album. That's how great this album is. What I remember most about this album is listening to it, again, going to and from gigs all around the country. And what the second story I'll tell is material issue related, but these are back to back because they happen on the same trip. I was doing a college gig in Kentucky, and I got to the hotel and I called the hotel and I said, I called the college and said, hey, where are you guys at? This is before cell phones and GPSs and that kind of nonsense. You had to use a map. I called the college and I said, hey, it's Jimmy. I'm in town. You know, just confirming that I'm here. It shows at 8 o'clock. And she goes, yeah, it's a little bit difficult to get here. What you want to do is you take a left here, take a right here. You come down the roadway into the college, and then you got to work your way through the campus. And then you'll come into the, where you're performing, you'll come into the chapel, and it's all in purple velvet, so you know the Lord was there. I said, the Lord sounds more like Elvis was there. Ha ha! Hang up. I'm getting ready. I'm taking a shower. The phone rings. Hey, Jimmy, it's Melinda at the college. We've canceled the show. So I'm now in Kentucky, not getting any money, and I have to now drive back to Chicago penniless because they decided to cancel the show because somebody had to get mouthy on the telephone. So the next day I wake up. They allow me to keep the hotel room. I wake up and, man, I'm a sucker for the local car wash. I'm a sucker for a fundraising car wash where it's a cheerleading squad or a football team or whoever it is. I'm a sucker for that because I know that the kids are going to give their all and they do a great job of washing your car. I'm a sucker for it. You don't want to get your car washed for $3? First of all, you're helping a good cause. Secondly, those kids are they're going to do a great job. So I pull in to get one of these at one of these fundraising car washes, and the gentleman in charge, as I'm waiting for my car to be washed, sits me down and starts talking about what they're raising funds for, which was the local church that is affiliated with the college. And he then proceeds to try to convince me that I need to find the Lord, that stand-up comedy is not the way, and that I'm a sinner, and so on and so forth. And he says, so what's your name? And I said, Jim. And he held my hand, and I will admit, very softly and kindly. And he said, Jim, is there anything I could pray for you today? And I said, yes, you could pray. My car never gets dirty again. I then got in my car and drove away, and Diane, by Material Issue, comes on, and there's a line in there where swears to Jesus she'll never marry, and it made me so riddled with guilt that I get in the car, Jesus, and I got canceled the night before, so I drove back and apologized to that man for saying that, and I probably spent another hour there because I felt so guilty about it. Hey, it's time for this week's quick hit. It is Yesterday Today by the Fixx. It's off their Ink album. Look, I like the Fixx, but I backdoored my way into this song and this album. Here's the thing. I knew all the 80s hits. You know, One Thing Leads to Another, Red Skies at Night, Are We Ourselves, which is a great Fixx song. Here's how I discovered this album. Chicago, the band, had an album called Stone of Sisyphus that the record company refused to issue, to release. And I got a bootleg of it, right? Why wouldn't I? I'm in the know. I own a flat-looking record store. Here's the thing. Bill Champlin co-wrote a song with Bruce Gates on the Stone of Sisyphus album called Show Must Go On, which I then learned was a kind of a refiguring of a Fixx song called Falling in Love, which was like, well, I got to hear that original version then and see what that's all about. And I thought that was a great song. And I was like, hey, I want to hear the rest of this album. So I listened to the rest of the album. And the song Yesterday Today is a great song. And it made me rediscover the Fixx, who then put out an album in 2012 called Beautiful Friction. That was my favorite album of the year that then made me go back and listen to the Fixx all over again. The point is the Fixx are haunting me. And they'll haunt you. When? Yesterday and today. Thank you so much for joining me this week on Jimmy's Records and Tapes. If you liked it, click that little like button. Tell your buddies about it. Send people here to watch these things. I think they're fun. I'm also on Twitter at Jimmy Pardo. Also, go to my website, jimmypardo.com, where you can get my tour dates. You can also buy some merchandise if that's what you're into. I also host the award-winning podcast, Never Not Funny. And until then, the record is back in its sleeve.